Hey guys, you're listening to the Scream Girls podcast, and I'm Kaitlin McKenzie. Before we dive into this episode, I just want to put a little disclaimer up that we did encounter some audio issues at the very top. It is listenable. I managed to level it out in post, but I sound a little wonky in particular. It only lasts for about 10 minutes is the good news, so if it's really driving you nuts, you can skip ahead. It was totally our bad. Thank you for bearing with us as we learn these technical tricks and skills, and we hope to improve drastically in a short amount of time. Okay, enjoy the show.
All right.
Do a test real quick. Testing.
Test the mic, and this time I'm not gonna swallow my jokes.
No swallowing. Callie doesn't swallow her jokes. You heard it here first, folks.
What's been going on, Kaitlin McKenzie?
Oh God, Callie.
How was your week?
I spent a lot of my week on the couch being annoyed with my infected tonsils.
Oh man, I forgot. Was that this week?
It was this week, girl. Thank God for modern meds. Because I went to the doctor, I got him. She didn't believe me that I had strep throat. She tried to tell me it was dry and my throat hurt because it was dry. And she was like, well, let me look and see. And I was like, I already looked. I can tell you. It's fucked up.
Dry?
Yeah, I was like, I know the difference between a dry throat.
How dry can your throat even get?
She didn't believe me. If she'd been a man, I would have cried sexism, but she was just a dumb lady.
Women can be sexist, too.
You want to tell people what day it is for you?
Oh my God, folks. It's day 33, and that means nothing to you, but it basically means everything to me. I've been doing the Whole30, which if you don't know, now you know. It's an elimination diet, essentially, where you don't eat sugar, you don't eat soy, you don't eat grains, you don't eat meat. You do eat meat. You don't eat wheat was the word. You don't eat anything good or fun, but you know, we're coming out the other side. Not really, because I'm going to try and keep going, but...
Oh, Whole 365.
Yeah, today I asked Kaitlin to sensually eat cheese fries for me, basically.
Right. I was already eating
for
them,
me and before me.
I didn't buy them for the purpose of eating them in front of Callie, but since I had them...
And it was wonderful. It was truly wonderful, Kaitlin. And I felt satiated by those cheese fries. Like, I was like, we did it. Delish.
You know what? If I can help a friend out, shoving some Shake Shack
I'm gonna
in my face.
need you to have a milkshake pretty soon, or a cookie. So we're not that much fun, but
we're scared.
And we watched The Strangers.
Oh, by the way, this is Scream Girls. It's a podcast where we watch scary movies and talk about them and rate them.
Yeah.
And recommend them or not.
That is what this is.
That's what we're doing here today. Yeah, and we watched The Strangers. Heads up. If you haven't seen that movie and you would like to, go rent it, watch it. It's a good time to do so because the sequel, companion piece...
We don't know yet.
...is in theaters now.
Yeah.
However, I would like to say if The Strangers is not your cup of tea, which we'll get into, you don't have to watch it to enjoy this podcast.
Yeah, no. We will talk about it at length.
We'll give you a synopsis.
Okay, so just diving right in, one of the things that I thought watching this movie was that... This is going to be a fun one to discuss because there is, unlike The fucking Ring, there is so little plot. It's really just like one location, one, event, sort of.
It's almost like a play. Okay, I have to just say something before we begin this discussion. I have never seen this movie. And the reason for that was because... If I had to name for you my greatest fear on this planet, I think home invasion.
Home invasion.
Would top the list. Ever since I was 12 years old and I caught the end of the Charles Manson-inspired miniseries Helter Skelter, and I realized people don't need a reason to kill you, break into your house, and fuck you up. I've been really scared. Yeah. This was one of those movies that I would see the trailer for. I was probably 18 when this movie came out, 2008.
Something.
I was 18 when I would see the trailer for it, and I would have nightmares literally about the trailer alone. So, watching this movie I was facing some demons. I did watch it at 11 o'clock in the morning, and it did take me 3 hours to complete this 90-minute film because I had to pause it.
You kept pausing out of fear?
Yeah, mostly. I would be like, now's a good time to take a shower. Now's a good time to finish the dishes. Now's a good time to text my mom for a while.
Okay, well, I don't want to spoil it. Is that because you didn't like it or because you were afraid?
I was afraid. I did not like it because I was so afraid of it. I would say watching the film was an unpleasant experience.
Oh my God. Okay, so I watched it and I, as you know, texted you because I was legitimately worried for you to watch it because I've seen this movie so many times and I was fucking scared as hell. And I was still doing the thing where you like cover your eyes and plug your ears because I was so scared. So I texted you and I was like, I'm scared for you. Please don't watch this by yourself.
Well, I had no choice because I'm a strong, independent woman.
Yeah.
And I live by myself, which is also not the best circumstance probably in which to watch this film. Please don't come and murder me. Please do not invade my home.
You're a SWF, single white female.
Oh my god. But it was an experience. I think I've recovered. Mostly it's been a few days, but we're gonna dive right into the pray at night.
Before we dive into this movie, I have to tell you, I've again seen this movie so many times, was scared, was nervous for you. Then the other night I was having a dream and I awoke from the dream because I heard the floor creak in my apartment and I froze. My heart was pounding out of my chest. I was so scared. I have an alarm system. Like, I am very scared of home invasion, so, like, I am protected. But I was like, someone is in the house. Yeah. They came in when we left the door open to take the trash out, and now they're here, and they live here, and they've been living here for months, and, like, that is what's happening. And I woke up Simon, my boyf. I woke him up, and I was like, someone's in the house. And I think it was residual damage from this movie.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a traumatic film. You told me that you saw this movie multiple times in theaters, which I don't understand how you put yourself through that.
3 times. Thrice. And the first time, we'll get more into it, but the first time I turned to my friend and I was like, I'm going to leave the theater because I'm having a fucking heart attack. My heart was pounding so bad that I was like, I'm going to die here, like, out of fear.
How does this movie start? What are we looking at here?
Based on true events.
Oh my fucking god! Do you want to know what true events it's based on? Should we save that for later?
I think I know. Let's talk about it.
Well, I looked this up right after.
Yeah.
And of course I'm terrified of this movie because the root of all of my home invasion anxiety are the Manson family murders. And this fucking movie is inspired by the Manson family murders.
Oh. And yes. The family that went on a camping trip. Is this what you think?
No, I didn't see that.
So I heard that it's based on, I'm getting this wrong undoubtedly, but there was like a family, they talked about it on My Favorite Murder, I think, too.
Yeah.
There's a family that went kind of camping and they had like a little kind of village of cabins, and all the kids wanted to stay in one cabin or something like that, and the parents were staying in another. It was like 5 teenagers or something, and they all got murdered, and there was like no reason why. It was a total motiveless crime. Because they were kids, and they didn't kill the parents or something like that, or they didn't kill the younger kids or something. The thing that I thought was really weird is that it is sort of this combination of these true events. But the fucked up thing about this movie is it says based on true events. And then it goes seamlessly into this plot description. And I was like, these are not true events. One night, Christine and Joe went to the blah, blah, blah.
It fakes you out because it says that it's based on true events, and then it presents the story that you're about to see as
the events,
Yeah, and the opening shots of, like, suburban houses are reminiscent of, like, a Dateline special.
Right.
It feels very kind of true crimey at the beginning, and you hear a 911 call, which is not a terribly well acted 911 call.
Right.
But, so it was pushing a lot of true crimey buttons in a way that made it. We've talked before about how I am not very scared of ghosts. I can watch the ghost with the lights off. I don't care. I'm not worried about a ghost. Anything that could really happen to me, I have a difficult time with.
I do think this is kind of the perfect third film for us to do, though, because we had a ghost, essentially. Yeah. We had a chicken-footed thing. We had, like, a god, Loki, descendant of Loki, a creature. Yeah, a creature feature. And now we have real people.
Right. So these are kind of the 3 tiers of horror in a way.
Yeah.
Sort of supernatural, monster, and human.
Yeah, and then my least favorite bucket, which is horror movies that turn into alien movies.
So we open with these, like, it's based on true events. Nobody knows what happened the night that these 2 people had a home invasion. I don't remember exactly what it said, but it scared me. Then we meet up with our 2 protagonists. One of them is Liv Tyler, where has Liv Tyler been? I was so happy to see her. I knew she was in the movie, but...
She was in The Leftovers.
Oh, well, I was happy to see her because it's been a while.
I know. She has the most beautiful face.
So beautiful. And in such a gentle way. She has a gentle beauty to her.
I always thought she has the nicest voice. Yeah. Her voice is so high and feminine, but not in a way that's like, I'm a very sexy baby. Like, it's, like, real. Like, her voice is just naturally, like, high and kind of lilty and beautiful.
She's just gentle. That's why she had to be an elf. So we have her, and then we have Scott Speedman, whose name is James, and let's just call him James because I don't know. Scott Speedman means nothing to me.
Yeah.
James. Well, James, they're having a bad night because they've just been at a wedding, and James has proposed to Liv Tyler.
Yeah, but we don't know that yet.
We don't know that yet.
We just know she's upset. She's
very
taking
jumpy.
a bath, and there's a lot of brown bathtub water.
So they've been at this wedding. Yeah. They've had some sort of falling out. They get to the house, and he's strewn out all of these beautiful rose petals and candles and things. But obviously, the night didn't go as he planned, so she takes a bath in this vacation. They go to his family's vacation home. That's where they are, in a remote area.
Right.
He eats ice cream by candlelight. Why did he turn the lights on? Selfie. I kept saying to them, but you're already sad to light your romantic candles to eat your ice cream.
Is there a power outage? No.
I don't believe so. No, because the lights go off and on.
She breaks the fucking lamp. Yeah. There's no power outage. Right. But I don't know. Sometimes you just want a candle and some ice cream straight from the tub.
He wanted to feel bad. So, yeah.
You know, I clocked that ice cream on the fucking whole 30, day 27. I was like, eat it slower, Scott Speedman. I love it.
Yeah, so that was the sensual moment for Callie.
Yes. Well, yeah, okay. First, to go back, proposing at a wedding is
tacky.
Bold.
It
is tacky. It's rude.
Steal somebody's thunder.
Yeah.
We have a flashback then at this moment.
Yeah.
And we see that he has been very, staring at her in a way that is overly intense, and then carries her outside of this wedding reception and proposes to her, and she says, no thanks.
No. Hard pass.
Maybe not a hard pass.
A soft pass.
She's, quote-unquote, just not ready.
Yeah.
So he's, really butthurt about this. I mean, as he would be, I guess. But it's also, maybe just have a convo about it. Maybe, I don't know. I think a proposal, this is my own personal belief as a single person, but I think a proposal should probably never be, a huge surprise. You know what I mean? You should be pretty confident of the answer you're going to get.
Agreed.
Based on previous conversations about the future. The circumstances of the proposal can be a surprise.
Yeah,
but,
agree. I don't really know anyone who's ever proposed like that, where they weren't sure of what the answer would be.
Exactly. So I'm with Liv on that. If you haven't had those combos, it's too soon to be putting a ring on it.
Right.
But, I don't blame him for proposing because she's very beautiful and sweet.
Yeah. So they're home from this wedding, and nothing's really happening. She puts on her dress again.
It feels like a different genre.
And, she puts back on her dress, which I thought was interesting.
Because it makes her feel pretty.
And then they almost have sex, which I remember very vividly because the second time I saw this movie, I brought my mother and my little brother.
Oh, no.
And my little brother's 10 years younger than I am, so he was probably, 9. Oof. Which is very young to have brought him to see this movie in retrospect. Yeah, that's young. But I did. And maybe he was 11 or something. And I remember my mom's kind of prudish, and the sex scene started, and she, looked at me like, Callie, damn it. She's like, I was like, it's gonna last 2 seconds. Shit's about to go down.
About to get blocked. But also, she's not worried about the horrendous
I know, yeah. Seriously, when they're getting, stabbed in the gullet, she didn't look at me and be like, Callie. She was just like, the sex, that's what's wrong with America.
Well, there you go. Moms across America.
Yeah.
But
also, I want to add one thing here. Because it was really persisting with me the whole time. So they've left this wedding, right?
Yeah.
Why are you so sober?
Well, I guess he wasn't drinking because he was going to propose, but she should be wasted. I would think.
Yeah, and then she drinks that Corona, and I'm like, all right, get after it.
Yeah, she's still drinking a beer in the wee small hours. Yeah. But I guess this movie must take place completely in real time because, the sun is up by the end of it.
I like that about it.
But, so right now this feels like a sad, emotional, romantic drama. They start to have sex. I feel bad they didn't get to have sex because their lives are about to really take a turn.
It would have been nice.
It would have been nice to have one last. Oh, I want to point out, as they're about to start banging, he says, "You're my girl." And I took note of that. It was a sweet thing to say, but just in light of some of his subsequent behaviors, which we'll get into, I was like, that tells us a lot.
I knew you were not going to like James, Kaitlin. I have written down in my notes,
in the least,
Kaitlin don't like James. And I just knew it. Yeah, but I do think, I thought that was kind of sweet. You're my girl.
I like some things about James. Like when he goes and gets her cigarettes, I thought that was nice.
Oh, see, I thought that. I was like, what? It's 4.
He needs a break. He needs to get out of there.
I know.
And he's attractive, I thought. So, I mean,
yes, very attractive.
I was happy about that, but
I thought it was scary that it was 4 in the morning.
That's like an hour when nothing good.
That's a weird time.
Will come to pass.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're about to bang. They're interrupted by another kind of bang upon the door.
Oh, yeah. So scary.
Ooh, and it's 4 o'clock in the fucking morning. This is another of my worst fears. I've had people, I used to live in a college town as not a college student, and I would get like drunk people accidentally knocking on my door at like 11 at night, and it would always scare the shit out of me. 4 in the morning? No. 911 immediately dialed.
Yeah.
What do? Fatally, they answer the fucking door. And there's this girl there, you can't see her face. She's there with all her long ass hair in her face.
I love it.
What does she say?
Is Tamra home?
Tamra. What a weird fake name to give.
I love it.
Is Tamra. Tamra is the evil queen of the Goths in Titus Andronicus.
Oh.
Connection? I don't know. Ends up accidentally eating her sons in a pie.
Dropping a smart bomb in the middle of this podcast. I like it.
Well, that's the only place I've heard that name.
Well, I fucking love that part.
It's really scary.
Home? And then he says, no, you have the wrong house. Are you sure? I love it. And then, see you later.
I wrote down.
I love it.
I was so scared.
It's so
I was already
scary.
so fucking scared. This is already my worst goddamn nightmare. So they close the door. The boner and the mood have been killed, so they don't have sex. Sadly, he builds her a fire. Then Liv's like, I need some cigs.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll go get you some. And so he leaves her alone in the house.
Which I would have been like, no.
No, I'd be like, I'll survive.
Yeah.
I would rather you stay. But he leaves, and as soon as he's gone,
well, the fire starts freaking out.
Oh yeah, and the smoke alarm goes off.
Yeah. Well, first things first. She puts on Joanna Newsom. That I slept all day, and I fucking love that song.
Yeah.
And it's creepy as hell because of Joanna Newsom's baby voice, which I love. But it also like just goes with the masks and like it just sets the tone for like this weirdness, right, that's happening. And I took note of the fact that Liv Tyler kind of goes up next to the fire and she hugs her knees. That is like the most movie thing I've ever seen. Do you do that in real life?
I've never done that. I don't have the flexibility to do that, Callie.
I cannot.
Sitting on a stone hearth.
I had to sit crisscross applesauce today and it nearly killed me. I can't get my knees up against my chest. There's too much else there.
Yeah, well, Liv is very, she's movie star skinny, which is like...
People always do that in movies. That's not an important point. We can take that out.
She's sad. No, I think we should leave it in. I think the world needs to know that this is an unrealistic representation of how people sit when they're sad.
Thank you.
But she does sit there and she's sad, and then the fire freaks out and the alarm goes off.
And there is nothing fucking worse than a fire alarm because I'm telling you, the fire alarm in my apartment is like on the verge of breaking up me and Simon because like I'll cook something, I always forget to turn the fucking oven fan on. And the alarm goes off. It's New York apartments. I just feel like it's a common thing.
Yeah, it is.
But it is so jarring. It's like so upsetting. You can't make it go off.
And you can't reach it without standing on a friggin' ladder.
It's so annoying.
And it's a very realistic, she's standing tippy-toe on this chair to get it down. She gets it down.
But honestly, I would have been like, that would have killed me. That alone. Like, having that smoke billow into the room, I would have been like, I have no idea what to do.
The strangers would have just been like, well, fuck. It's too late.
They just take off their masks. Yeah. They're like,
smoke killed her.
Well, do you think they jeopardized the thing?
Yes, I
fireplace?
do. Because we'll get into this, but they are a very well choreographed team of vandals and bandits and whatever you want to call them, harassers. Very well choreographed. This is important. She just tosses the fire alarm on the ground. Bang, 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 bang. She's walking around. And there's a bang on the door, she's a very good jumper. A muscle in her throat jumps in a way that seems involuntary. So they must have really startled her on set. They must have not told her when the thing was going to come, and she got into it. I thought it looked very real. Oh, she goes to the door, starts talking to this bitch again. You have the wrong house. I
love it. Is Tamara home? It's the same exact thing. I love it. Are you sure? The same thing. I mean, even that alone, if you were home, you know, in a vacation house like this or whatever, and a girl kept coming by, I would already be pissed off at the very minimum. I'd be freaked out, but I would also be like, get the fuck out of here, man. Like, it's 4 a.m.
Yeah, I would assume that it was somebody who was on a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
And I would have 911 at the ready. Which she, to her credit, more noises keep happening, and she does go and try to get her phone, and its battery is dead, so she plugs it in.
Right.
But then we find out she has access to a landline at this point still. So it's unclear why she didn't just immediately use the landline. But it's important that she leaves her phone plugged in. She then goes and calls James. I thought she was calling 911, and I said, good work. But she didn't call 911. She called James, and she said, but okay.
I probably would have done that.
I probably would have done it too,
just, like,
I'm going to be honest. Because it's like, nothing overtly threatening has happened yet. It's just like bad vibes. It's 4 a.m.
Right.
But
also just seeing her, you know, she does the thing where she kind of peeks out the back window, that sliding glass door, which, by the way, can we just talk about sliding glass doors and how fucking scary a sliding
I don't think they should be allowed.
Yeah, it's just so vulnerable when you're in that place where people can see into your home and you can't see out, really.
And they're easier, I think, to break into than a real door. This movie made me really appreciate, it's been a while since I've lived in a house. You know, we both live in New York City. We live in apartments, and it made me appreciate not living on the ground floor.
Oh, I do.
Not having, I know you do, but you have an alarm system, so it's okay.
It's true.
But, you know, it just made me appreciate, and you also live, like, if you screamed, there would be a lot of people around to hear you.
That is true.
In a house, that's a different story.
That is true.
So what happens next? So she's being creeped out.
Oh my
There's
God.
lots of bangs
So
and
she
clangs.
calls James. And when they're on the phone, they get disconnected. She says, will you just stay on the phone with me? And then they get disconnected.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know if this is the moment that it happens, but this is the scariest shit of all time. She's in the kitchen. She's looking out the little window. And the guy, a man, is standing behind her.
Oh, that's right.
He's literally just in the entryway.
You almost would miss it if you weren't paying attention to it. It's so subtle and quiet.
Do you know why it scared the absolute shit out of me, Kaitlin?
Why?
Because you and I have talked about the fact that we are both scared of home invasion.
Yeah.
So you hear a noise and it wakes you up, and then you listen, and it's silent, but you still think, oh, there's someone in the house. This is exactly what happened to me the other night. But you and I have talked about that would only be true if the person that broke in is a fucking ninja.
Yeah.
And all they're trying to do is scare you. Because otherwise they'd be banging around and clanking around. Especially and trying to get your TV off the wall.
Creaky ass floors.
Yeah.
And, absolutely.
Like they're not just gonna, there's not anyone who's just like bink, bink, bink. And like just trying to quietly.
Unless they're there for the only purpose.
Exactly.
The sole purpose of fucking.
So that's why this scared me so bad. Because I was like, oh my God, he is doing the ninja move.
Yeah, and he's wearing a weird, I'm going to call him Sack Man, because he's wearing a sack over his head, just a scary sack.
He had Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes with the suit. The suit and the burlap sack.
Yeah, it's a weird look.
Yeah. And
it's not nice.
So he's behind her, and then the scariest thing of all time, she hears the front door close. Kaitlin, I don't think is enjoying talking about this.
No, I am. It's cathartic. Yeah.
And fuck, a million times fuck. And she goes, James, nope. And so that's when she grabs a knife. Which I'm like, kudos.
Kudos, Liv. And that moment for me was another, like, I've done that so many goddamn times. Just like, I'm a little creeped out. Where do I go? Straight to my kitchen. Get that big old chef's knife. What happens next? She walks into, is this when she walks into the living room and she sees?
Yes.
Somebody has moved the smoke detector, is now sitting on a chair.
Yes.
Neatly placed upon a chair.
Oof. And she goes to get her phone.
Mm-hmm.
And her cell phone is gone. The landline is dead.
Yes.
So she did use the landline. She
used
the landline as she was charging her cell phone.
Right. Okay.
And then the landline is dead, and so she goes to get her cell phone, and it is gone.
It is gone. Which I thought was interesting. I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. A problem that contemporary horror movies run into is cell phones. And the easy thing to do is say, oh, we're somewhere without reception. I appreciated that this movie did something different with the cell phone. They didn't go the easy route. They've had the cell phones used as a prop in their horror game.
Totally.
So she doesn't have a phone.
And at this point, it's clear that they are just messing with her, which is like, what?
They're gaslighting her
scary.
a little bit. Yeah, it's so scary. And then, okay, is this when she goes to the window?
Yes.
This is brave of her. It's something that I have a hard time with. But she goes to the window and she sort of hesitantly pokes the knife out the curtain. Like she wants to pull the curtain aside, but she won't. It's so relatable. And then she rips it aside.
My heart is racing right now.
How many times have you ripped a curtain aside or moved a curtain aside and nothing has been there and you're like, of course, I'm so silly. Well, that's not what happens to Olive because she rips that curtain aside and there is Sackman.
Oh my God, Sackman! And her scream is so good.
It's so good. She's great in this movie. She's a great horror actress.
Yeah, she was so brave to go near that door, especially after I'd seen the fucking thing is not on the floor anymore. No way. Yeah. I heard a creak and I didn't get out of bed. I sent Simon to die. Like, no.
No, well, she doesn't have Simon there. She doesn't have anybody there. She's by herself. True. So she runs into the bedroom. I didn't understand what this was about. She breaks the lamp.
I didn't understand.
She intentionally, she's screaming. She, is down on the ground by the bed. She breaks the bedside lamp and cuts her hand. She breaks it on purpose. And so it's unclear if she wants to turn the light off or
I think she wants to turn the light off and she can't figure out the switch.
Got it. Okay. So she breaks the lamp and she hurts herself and she screams, "Go away." We hear these slow stomps.
And the record has started scratching.
The record, and how did they do that? That's a question. How did they make the record skipper? Is it just like they were like, oh, nice, that worked out for us.
Ooh, good one, record.
Thanks, Joanna. Yeah. So she's screaming. We hear clomp, clomp, clomp. We hear the footsteps. Here comes Sackman. But it's not Sackman, it's Jamie.
Yeah.
It's James.
Why wouldn't he call out to her? There's a problem with not calling out in this movie.
Make yourself known.
Call out to her. I mean, especially there's probably smoke all in the place and there's a chair now in the hallway and all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
Be like,
are you okay?
Kristen, are you okay?
He doesn't do that. He just sort of wanders in. But it's a sweet moment. She's like, oh, Jamie, it's Jamie. And she's so happy to see him. Here's where my James shit begins because she's hysterical. Rightly so. She's very frightened. She's cut her hand. And he's like, what is wrong? Calm down.
And here, stop it.
Yeah, immediately, and she's telling him, there are people here. There are people trying to get into the house. They've already gotten in the house. He doesn't believe her. Like, he dismisses it. And it's like, you are about to marry this woman. Presumably, she is not prone to hysterics. Presumably, she's not a crazy person.
Well, I was like, maybe that's why she said no. Because you're kind of a dick, dude. Like, I mean, to be fair, she was so hysterical that she wasn't being very clear about what had happened.
Yeah.
Like, she should have said, they moved the fire alarm thing. My cell phone is missing. But someone came in.
But she does say that stuff later. And she tells him that her phone is missing. And he says to her.
He's like, no one took your phone.
Yeah, fuck you, dude. I wrote fucking men really big in I was so angry. What do you mean? Believe her. Yeah. Why doesn't he believe Liv? I wrote in all caps.
But I at this point also wrote, tell him exactly what was happening. Like,
yes.
But she's very scared. And she cut her hand. I would have fainted if I cut my hand.
Oh my God. Oh, me too. Alone without all the other shit happening. Oh, so she tells him that they took her phone. He doesn't believe her, and I'm furious. They look out the window. Nobody's there. Oh, no, there is somebody there. They look out the window.
Yeah. Can I tell you, though, I literally wrote down, Kaitlin, not going to like how dismissive he is.
You know me well, my friend.
Yeah, so they look, they look outside, right, and the car is destroyed.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God, yeah. And he's like, fuck, because I left my cell phone in the car.
Yeah, so he goes and looks at it. It's like, it's been battered. The tires are flattened.
No, but we missed a part, though.
We did?
Or is this after? Because they see the girl standing outside.
Oh.
So they look out the window. And yes, this happens before that. They look out the window. Oh, yeah. She's like, look. And long hair is standing like really far away. And she's positioned herself so she's center in the middle of their view from just staring at the house in the window. And she's like, oh my God, we have to get out of here. And he's like, oh, it's fine. Like, they must want something. And she's like, no, they don't want what do they want? They don't want money. They don't want to talk. He doesn't occur to him that they might just be fucking with them at this point.
I know. I don't know. I don't know
it
if that would
have been my first assumption.
I don't know. It's crazy. But the other cool thing about it is they're like, I can't see her face. Why can't I see her face? And they're all wearing masks, which I would argue are the scariest masks I've ever seen in a horror movie.
Yeah. Well, particularly hers, the long hair.
The like baby doll thing. Yeah,
because her hair with it is a really jarring, because she looks like a Manson girl.
At this point in the movie, I realized how scared I am to see Prey at Night because
so
I was so scared of this movie. So, not on a scary note, he uses his tie to fix her hand.
Well, let's go back real quick because
there's a Band-Aid in this house.
I wrote that same thing. I was like, you're in a house. Like, you're not in the woods. Yeah. You're in a house.
You're not Dom in the woods with a busted knee.
Yeah. There's no creature.
Also, like, if you're like, no one's here, chill out, Kristen, then okay, so take the time to put a little hydrogen peroxide on that if you think nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It was kind of chivalrous, but also kind of...
This is after, because what happens is he goes out, so they see this long hair girl, and he's like, well, I'm going to go out to the car and get my phone and talk to this girl. He goes out, and he's like creeping toward his car, which he now realizes has been destroyed. The windshield is fucked. And he's slowly moving toward the car, and one little finger reaches out from behind and just touches his shoulder in a very scary way. The look of her finger, I was like, her finger would be like clammy if she touched you. I just know it would be clammy. Her hand would be too soft.
Oh, gross.
And he freaks out and jumps away, and then he yells after her, what do you want? And she just ignores him. And then he drives the car like a few feet, and then he goes back into the house, and he realizes he doesn't have his phone. This is the time in which he decides to
wrap
Liv's hand up in a tie.
Gross.
And he says something which was unnecessary to say. He says, I've just been thinking, I haven't heard a car pass or a dog bark. It's just us and them. That's not helpful. That's not helpful. And this after he's telling her to stay calm.
I guess maybe that was the book writing job of being like, there are no neighbors nearby.
Yeah, I guess
so. Reinforcing the remoteness of the house. He also says, get your shoes on.
Yes.
And I was like, yes. Bitch, get your shoes on. First of all, there's broken glass on the floor. You broke a lamp.
I know, but she hasn't had time.
Get some slippers on.
I do appreciate that when she started hearing shit happen, she changed out of her pretty dress into like a flannel and jeans.
I did always like that flannel.
Yeah, me too. I love a flannel. But I was like, girl, you don't want to be running around in a dress with this shit. It's like having to pee when you're being attacked. You don't want that.
Oh my God, can you imagine being in a bridesmaid's dress? Also, the fact that she wanted to put that dress back on, I was like, never in a million years. No. I unleashed that thing like I've been in prison and like my body just unfurls.
Let it go.
And also, she wasn't wearing Spanx.
Well, she also sits on the hearth with her knees curled up under her chin. So that's who Liv Tyler is.
Okay, so then I don't really remember, but the sliding glass door is open. This part.
No, yes, vaguely. I mean, there are a lot of shit. This is a hard movie to go through beat by beat because it's just a series of creepy things happening. It's not really like a sequence of
Okay, well, events. Let's go to like the event, sort of the one sort of change or one of the changes that happens, sort of like one of the events I would consider it in this movie, is that for once someone in a horror movie does the right thing, does the smart fucking thing. They hold themselves up in a room, in a corner, with no windows and no doors.
But a number of things happen first.
What?
Can we go through them really quick? They try to escape. They try to get out.
I took very poor notes.
Well, two important things happen.
Poor notes.
So after the tie first aid.
Yes. He's like, we're getting out of here.
He can't find his phone. He's like, we gotta go. Let's just go. And I was like, yes, that's great. Go, get out of there. Great idea. They go, they get in the car, they run. Well, they back out of the driveway, and they get fucking rammed with a fucking truck that just shows up.
Girl with the Betty Boop face.
Oh, this third random girl shows up. Oh! Yeah, so their car is, like, destroyed. They're, like, sandwiched between these two cars, and they have to run back into the house and close the door. Now, if you're a bad guy and you're trying to fuck some people up and not be caught, it's questionable if you would be able to actually do that degree of damage to your own car.
Especially that car appears later and
it doesn't seem to be too damaged. Yeah, maybe they reinforced the hood. I don't know. But
they have that like bumper thing that you drive around the city in. They have like 19 of them.
Menacing, but it does the job.
But they're like, we're gonna fuck your car up and we're gonna be fine. Or they had like a tow truck thing on the front of it.
Yeah, who knows? But they get through it. So anyway, so they have to go back in the house, which is terrible. Then they start looking for a gun. Wow. Also a good move, I would say. You know, it is the official stance of the Scream Girls podcast that we are very much pro-gun control, common sense gun laws. But I did think, and we'll revisit this in a moment as I was watching this movie kind of makes me understand why you would want to have a gun in the home.
Yeah. Yes. I do not, as you said, what's the word?
Endorse.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Guns in the home.
Yeah. Well, again, we'll come back to this, but.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, neither does this movie.
No.
So.
Yeah. But so they're looking for a gun. They find a gun. There's a weird moment where he's like, I don't even know how to load this thing. And she's like, I thought you went hunting with your dad all the time. And he's like, no, that's just something I said.
It's just something I said.
What?
It made me think it was just sort of poking holes in their relationship, sort of, so that you know this was not a perfect couple.
Right.
It sounds like he made things up to make her impressed or something. I don't know.
Well, it's his toxic masculinity is showing throughout.
Yes.
Now they do this very smart thing that you brought up. They
hold themselves up in a room, no windows, one door, aim the shotgun or whatever the fuck that was, the rifle, towards the door, and just stay there.
Yeah. Very smart. Hunker down.
Smart. Hunker the fuck down.
Smartest thing anyone ever did. Unfortunately, there was an ill-fated phone call earlier in the night. James asked his friend Mike to come get him. Mike has arrived early. Mike is a good friend.
Also, though, driving drunk, probably.
Definitely driving drunk. He's kind of a dick. Mike shows up. He's like, he calls. Okay, by the way, Mike is Dennis from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which I enjoyed seeing.
Which also, I think, it reinforced for me that he was a dick, because he's such a dick on It's Always Sunny, that I was like, oh, Mike's a dick. I don't think I ever thought that before seeing it this time.
Yeah. Well, he's not, he's a good friend in the sense that he's there to get his friend, but he's not being nice about it. He calls him and he's like, oh, I love to fucking wait on you hand and foot, so I'm here to get you. Yeah. But it's also like, it was really nice of him to come early and get him. Yeah. So even if you drove
And
drunk,
at this point, when you think it's like 5 a.m.?
Yeah. So he must know that his buddy needs him. So Dennis Mike goes into the door. You know, he's calling out for his friends. He does a nice job of calling, but they don't hear him.
Well, he only calls out twice.
That's true. He's creeped out because this
and the music's playing really loud, and the house is kind of the house is kind of in shambles. Yeah. But that would have made me call out really frantically, I feel like.
But I mean, probably smart that he didn't to some degree because he doesn't know who's there and who could come out. So he's walking through the hallways. We see Sackman sort of stealthily follow him, and you're like, well,
fucking ninja.
Good night, Dennis.
Oh, and he has a knife or something. What does he have? He has like an axe or some weapon that he starts lifting up as if he's going to do this to Dennis,
and then Dennis rounds the corner and says, "Hello," bang, and fucking his best friend, friend James Scott Speedman shoots him in the goddamn face with a shotgun, assuming him to be Sackman. So what we said before makes you think maybe a gun in the home is a good idea. Debunked. Don't have a gun in the home.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. It's not worth it.
I mean, this is like the least of the reasons not to do it, but don't do it.
Don't do it. I mean, it's like, you know, you're most likely to kill someone that you know.
Yeah. Oh, it's so sad. And he's like, why wasn't he wearing a mask?
Yeah, he immediately knows he fucked up. Yeah. James does. And he, you know, sticks his head out.
Also, though, how fucked up is it that Sackman is wearing a suit?
I know.
And his friend is wearing a suit because he came from a wedding.
And that can't have been choreographed. That was just an accident of fate. But he sticks his head out in the...
It's just because Sackman's such a sharp dresser.
I know, damn you, Sackman. So he sticks his head out, and fucking Dennis's head has been blown off. I mean, he's barely recognizable as the lovable asshole we know. And this is like a really intense scene. Liv is like, tell me what's going on. And he tackles her to the ground. And she's scared. She's like, get off me. What's happening? And he's like, please don't look. Please don't look. It's Mike. Please don't look. And he has a very devastating moment where he says, he's my best friend. I killed him. He's my best friend. And she's saying, it's not your fault. And I mean, my God, at this point, the movie has totally gone past the point of no return. You know that these people are never going to be okay. Right. Because whether or not they're physically going to be safe, you know they're never going to be okay. Like,
I know. Isn't that so sad? I actually had a thought which might be ridiculous. But I was like, okay, let's say let's say they survive. Yeah. Would killing Mike have brought them closer together, this trauma? Or was that the proverbial nail in the coffin? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, so then they decide to get up and leave the room, basically, because this thing has happened. This was the wrong choice. Stay put. though the plan was not working per se, it was kind of working. So just stay
it
fucking
would have
put.
worked
It
if
would have
Dennis
worked.
hadn't shown up. It wasn't his fault that he showed up, but, you know, it would have worked.
And it might have worked if they had just stayed in there.
Right.
I mean, what do you think would have happened? Like, those people would have just been like, oh, shit, and left? Or, like,
eventually
charged in? Or...
I mean, I don't think they could have done it without one of them
morning.
getting killed. So I don't, you know, I think they probably would have just left, ultimately. They would have figured it out. But they didn't do that. I mean, who knows? They're very clever. So they leave.
It's at this point that he says, I'm going to go out to the barn. The old let's split up. I'm going to go out to the barn and try and use the radio, the ham radio. Leaving her alone in the house.
Classic mistake. Classic horror movie
They went
mistake.
from the smartest thing I've ever seen in a horror movie to the dumbest thing that happens in horror movies.
Thing you could do, stupidity wise. By the way, we missed a point. I don't know when it happened. When they tried to leave again, and the door was chopped down.
Oh God!
But I don't want to go back and get into it. A lot of scary shit happens. We can't go beat by beat through it. It's too much.
That's okay.
But anyway, so yes, so he decides to go out and look for the radio.
They're just so it was kind. I feel like it was almost at this point. It was a little bit ahead of this that I was like, at what point do you just fucking face these people and be like, what is your problem? Like, you know, because when at this moment, so he goes out to the barn. She's actually sitting on the porch outside because that's no more dangerous than sitting inside.
Totally.
They can get in and out of the house at will.
Right.
So it's like, in fact, she's on the porch and Mask Man is inside the house. Sack Man. Do you remember this moment? So anyway, so he goes out to the barn, and I feel like the sound design of this movie is really good. I feel like, and the sound of feet running is so scary. You hear it like multiple times. It reminded me of Get Out.
Ooh, there's a lot of good running in Get Out.
Yeah, when that guy is like running really fast towards him. And at this moment, though, I did have a moment with Liv. Yeah. She's sitting on the porch, still has not gotten her shoes on.
Girl.
Granted, it's been rough, but
there's been a lot going on,
we need those shoes.
You need the shoes.
So I also remember that there's this moment when he goes out to the barn where I think it's the Betty Boop girl. Betty Boop is walking slowly behind him. And it's just that like slow walking thing where it's like, these people are in total control.
Yeah. I mean, they're very well choreographed. They've like done it before. They know exactly how to fuck with these people. They can anticipate like the basic moves that normal people are going to make in this situation. This is borne out in the next scene when he sees a light by the barn and he aims his gun at it thinking like, great, I'll shoot this guy. While it's a decoy light, it's just a flashlight hanging there. And Sack Man comes out from behind him.
I don't even think I realized that.
Yeah, it's just hanging there. Because Liv goes and sees it later. I thought it was a person holding it, but Liv goes and finds it and it's just hanging there.
It wasn't the girl?
Maybe it was the girl.
The Betty Boop girl?
And then Liv finds a flashlight later.
I don't know.
Because at one point there was just a hanging flashlight.
That's scary.
I know. They're very good. And so, so Sack Man comes out and gets him. Doesn't kill him at this moment, but, you know, gets him. Hits him, grabs him, whatever, takes him away. Well, now Liv is like, well, I gotta go after him because I don't know what else to do. She takes matters into her own hands. She runs. She starts running. She steps in a divot or
she
trips.
goes the way of the dom.
She pulls a dom. She fucks up her leg and she has to crawl. It's very scary and disheartening to see her crawling.
It is.
While there are...
And it's just such like an open... It's like all so vulnerable. Like it's just such an open area. Like they can fucking see you. Like it's not that dark. They can see you.
I do have to say at this point of the movie, I had paused it enough times and I was just ready for the movie to be over that I lost the steam of my fear a little bit here. Okay. I was sort of like... And I don't think it was the movie's fault. I didn't watch it as God intended. But I was just like, all right.
You had showered. You had done the dishes. You had built a piece of IKEA furniture. You were like,
I'd done my meal prep for the week, you know, so I was ready to move on to other things, but...
You were like, I get it.
I get it. They're in troubles. But, so she gets to the barn. She does find the radio.
The radio. Oh, and it's so sad when she starts crying. Yeah. She's like, someone please help me. And it was at this moment, just like a side note, I noticed that it seems like the whole thing is shot on handheld camera.
Yeah, I wrote that down too at some point. It's very unsteady and... disorienting.
So then she gets somebody on the radio, or she feels like she might.
Yeah.
And Betty Boop smashes it with a baseball bat.
that's really scary too. And then she has to run away again.
Sends
and here's
her...
the thing: Betty Boop could easily catch her because she's crawling.
Yeah,
but
sends
Betty
her
Boop
hobbling
just
into the.
lets her go.
That's the most fucked up thing.
Yeah.
And the girl is swinging on the swing.
Oh yeah, fucking! And she's just there's a moment where there's Betty Boop behind her, Sack Man ahead of her, and
Mancing
long
girl.
hair. Yeah, fucking Squeaky Frome over here, just squeaking away on that swing.
Oh, the swing! I remember the swing from the trailer.
Yeah, I watched the trailer last night actually, and
really?
I was like, the trailer is less scary than I remembered because it really.
Well, I remember the trailer, seeing like a short trailer, or maybe it was 30 seconds. But it was just the guy in the entryway creeping up behind Liv Tyler. Like, they just showed that moment.
Funny.
And it scared me so bad that I was like, I have to see the shit out of this movie. Like,
we had opposite reactions to this commercial.
It's so good.
In her youth. Yeah, so she gets back to the house. She ends up in the kitchen and decides to hide in the pantry. Which is, I guess, as good a move as any. Why the hell not hide in the pantry? I don't know where the creeps have been up until this point. They've kind of let her go.
Yeah,
do her own thing.
Yeah, I mean, they just because then she looks back at the swing and the girl is gone. Like, they're literally just letting her run herself ragged, sort of. Yeah. She's still not wearing shoes. There's broken glass everywhere.
Yeah.
She
hides in the pantry.
There's
a long time. Oh my god, fucking Sackman. He walks around slowly. He looks at the pantry. He doesn't go in.
He knows she's in there.
He knows she's in there, but he doesn't open it. He sits down at the pantry. He eats some of that ice cream, which I was like, how's that ice cream not melted? But I guess it's only been sitting out there for probably like 45 minutes.
And it's probably just that like the delicious soupy consistency.
Ooh.
Sorry,
I
I'm
don't
so
care for that.
hungry.
I don't like a soupy ice cream, but Sackman
love
does.
It.
So he sits there.
A soupy mint chocolate chip.
Ugh. I feel the way you feel about spaghetti, about soupy.
Oh, I hate spaghetti. I used to kind of like to make my ice cream, especially my mint chocolate chip, soft like that.
Yeah.
And then I would pretend that I was an Oliver.
That checks out.
I would pretend that I was, or
your 9-year-old
Annie.
brother to the strangers.
Yeah, or Annie, and I would lay on one stair, and I would pretend that was my bed, and all I had to eat was this like green slop.
Oh, poverty's a fun game. No, I did that shit too, absolutely.
Oh my god, please, sir. All right.
Classic. Anyway, yeah, so Sackman leaves, and she's like, all right, maybe I'm good.
You're not good.
Who shows up in front of the pantry? But Squeaky Frome, Mancing girl,
and she bangs on it. Oh god,
she breaks
so
it.
freaky.
She like rips it down with her bare hands. It's really scary.
And Liv's just fucking screaming her head off. And this was the moment that I was like, "What? At what point?" And she does. She just comes out.
Yeah.
Because they know she's in there. Yeah. And she just has to face them and be like, "He's gonna kill you." That's what she says about James.
Too
Little
much faith.
does she know.
Too much faith in old Jamie. But. So Squeaky Frome is now her new name, I decided. You know, she grabs off the table, not grabs, leisurely plucks the kitchen knife off of the dining room table and is just sort of playing with it. Drags it along. Liv grabs like a paring knife out of the oven. So it's big knife versus little knife. Not the oven, out of the drawer. Big knife versus little knife. It's like, oh girl, this isn't The Walking Dead. That little paring knife ain't gonna do shit. But I understand why you would want it.
I know.
And she says, why are you doing this? Again, she asks, why are you doing this? And Squeaky doesn't answer her. Squeaky just says, you're gonna die. Masked Man shows up. Sackman shows up with Jamie. And Jamie's like, Jamie's like, run. So she does. But she's all fucked up in the leg. And so...
She hobbles. And she's hobbling. And does she hide? I forget.
I think she attempts to hide. It's all a blur at this point.
Yeah, but basically, Sackman knocks her into a wall and knocks her unconscious. Yeah. Which is awful. And even more awful is as he's dragging her down the hall, she is coming to while being dragged. Can you imagine that?
Yes. Yes, and she grabs the,
trying to grab
door frame and is trying to stop it. Cut to, it's morning, the sun's out.
I feel like this is potentially the most messed up part of this whole thing is that, because you always think when the sun comes up, that is safety, that is salvation. Nothing bad can happen once the sun has come up. Yeah. You've survived.
That's true. This movie fucks with the movie convention. Because it's supposed to tell you that this is real and this could really happen and it's not bound by the rules of moviedom. Well, it's interesting. I just Wikipedia'd this quickly afterwards. Some critics evidently saw it as a critique of rural life and the presumed safety of rural life.
Interesting. That actually you're sort of more at risk.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're so remote.
People think if they're in a small town that's the safe life, but fucked up stuff. I mean, in cold blood, you know, that farm, those poor people on that farm.
That's true.
Never live on a farm. People.
And you're right. I mean, oh God, I almost said it out loud. People would hear me scream in my apartment, but I'm still scared.
Oh, I'm still scared.
It's New York, and so probably everyone would just be like, oh, my neighbors are screaming.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have I heard her scream? And I'm like, it's probably fine.
I heard the other morning, for over an hour, a slow bang on the floor above me. And I was like, someone is either having, like, leisurely sex, or someone has fallen and is just trying to get someone's attention, or maybe they're strapped to a chair.
Oh my God.
Maybe I was right that there was a ninja intruder the night before and they've made their way through every apartment. I did nothing, but
I'm scared to go home.
I went to work.
Well,
and the banging stopped. So
not your problem anymore.
Yeah. Well, I was like, what are they doing?
No. It was probably fine, but who can say? I mean,
you
don't want to intrude. This is New York. We also can't intrude upon people's privacy to a degree.
True.
You have to sort of like really pick your battles as far as who you're gonna help or stick your nose in their business.
Yeah, what bangs you're gonna respond to.
If you hear a solid help me, then you should you should jump in.
Yeah.
But banging could be anything. We're almost done here. So they wake up. It's morning. Liv and James have been tied to these chairs. Liv is back in her fucking bridesmaid's dress, so that's unsettling.
They put her back in it,
They put her back in it, yeah.
Because now they're both in there, like, they look like the top of a wedding cake or whatever.
Oh, yeah, it's real. Is he in a suit? I guess he was always in a suit. He never changed out of suit. Well, and here we have this, like, iconic image from the movie poster. I guess it's not iconic, but, you know, it's the image from the movie poster of these three masked freaks standing in front of them. And she...
Earlier in the movie, we didn't mention this, but she had put on the engagement ring.
Oh, yes. She's wearing
and
the
so
engagement ring.
she touches his leg. They're tied up, but she touches his leg and she's wearing the ring. Right. And she kind of shows him that she's wearing the ring. So
it's a nice moment of, like, I love you.
See the ring and then you die.
And they it follows everywhere. Squeaky Frome or Betty Boop, one of them goes and gets the kitchen knife and brings it in and just sets it down on the floor. And they stand up and look. And Liv asks, why are you doing this? And what's the classic line?
Because you were home.
Because you were home. Don't answer the door at 4 a.m.
I'm pretty sure I saw the poster too for this, and it was just, I'm pretty sure the tagline is something like, because they were home.
Yeah, they gave away this like kind of cool line. It's in the trailer as well, of all these marketing materials, which is a little annoying, but...
I still think it's
lands, still a great line. It lands, yeah. It's so sad. So Liv starts freaking out. And that's also,
there is no reason.
There's no reason. This is why it's so scary. Nobody wants to kill me for any rational reason, but, you know, who knows?
You know of.
Well, I am a huge bitch, so. So Liv screaming, carry on. I wrote down, I don't care for this. Just Liv Tyler tearfully begging them, you don't have to do this, please don't do this, which is of course what you would do, but it's not
real.
Nice. It's not nice to see. This is like a screaming, crying woman. And they give James a little stabby stab.
They shiv. Yeah, they get him.
With that chef's knife.
It's rough.
Yeah, and she's like, look at me, while he's, bleeding to death.
Gross.
And then Liv gets a little of the same.
Awful. Okay, now, I, this time around, watched the unrated version.
Oh, heavens!
Which I have never seen before. And this is the only moment where things diverge as far as I could tell. So I want to know what happened in your version that you watched.
In my version, it cuts from, Liv screams. And then as she's screaming, it cuts to, like, birds flying elsewhere. And you see these two little, like, missionary boys with their bikes on the dirt road. What happened in yours?
No, that is what happened. That is what, so we haven't diverged yet. Yet. But, okay, so keep going.
Okay, so we see we cut to these missionary boys, and then they're sort of walking. And this fucking Jeep with these 3 people in it, one of them has long hair, we can't see their faces, drives in and stops. And Squeaky gets out, long hair, gets out of the car. She points to the pamphlets, the, like, have you been saved pamphlets that this little boy is carrying, and says, can I have one of those? And he says, are you a sinner? And she says, Sometimes. Gets back in the car. We hear Betty Boop say to her, "It'll be easier next time." So we are led to believe this was Squeaky's first rodeo.
Oh my God, I always thought that was such a good line.
So we know.
Or either her first rodeo, or maybe it's all of them for their first time doing this.
Maybe, that's
But you
true.
know they're going to do it again.
Yeah,
It'll get easier next time.
Yeah, it's rough. So they drive away. The little boys keep walking. They get to the house.
Okay. My version is different.
Really?
Yeah.
Can I just go through the ending?
Uh-huh,
You tell me?
yeah.
Okay, so we've heard this 911 call at the beginning of a little boy who's saying,
There's blood
"There's blood
everywhere.
in the house. There's people. Help! Help! Help!" So we've come full circle and we're back at this moment of this little boy. They walk in, which I wrote, "Parents teach your children better than this."
Yeah.
They walk into this fucking nightmare house, which is just unsafe. I mean, I'm glad they want to help, but don't do it.
Yeah.
They walk into the house. Poor James, very obviously dead on the ground, eyes open, the whole shebang. Liv's lying there with her eyes closed, bloody gown. Little boy reaches out, puts his hand on her shoulder. She wakes up screaming. Roll credits.
Yep. Ugh.
So, Callie, how did yours end?
Okay. So we cut, the birds fly. Then we see Liv Tyler on the ground next to Jamie. Jamie's eyes are open. He's clearly dead. Her eyes are closed. She's covered in blood on her dress. Mike's cell phone starts ringing. She army crawls over, barely alive, to the cell phone. And she picks up the cell phone, and by this point, it's rung and rung and rung.
Yeah.
And so she takes the cell phone, and she goes to answer it, and the person's already hung up. And so she goes to dial, and Sackman, just his legs, because they've taken their masks off at this point, comes up behind her, and she rolls over onto her back. And in such a real and scary way, she covers her face with her arms in like a protective stance with like your forearms up. She is already, her stomach she's been stabbed a lot, and I just feel like it's such a true defensive thing that would be so real. And he takes the cell phone, and I don't remember if he just takes the battery out or he rips it in half or something and then just puts it down and leaves. So then it goes back into what it was with the truck, and then the little boy comes, and so that is why she's laying near Mike.
Oh, wow.
And I actually think the original was more effective.
Yeah.
Where you really didn't know at all what had happened or if she was potentially alive.
So did she wake up when the little boy touches her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Still that same scream
Yeah.
last jump scare moment.
Yeah.
But I feel like it kind of spoiled it almost a little bit because you saw her that she was alive and she crawled to Mike's cell phone. So I was actually really glad that they cut that moment.
That's a good
And
cut.
it's weird that I've seen this movie so many times. That's the first time I've seen that version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I guess they left us with Liv alive. I mean, it's a little bit more hopeful than it could have been. She didn't need Jamie anyway.
It's sad.
I mean, it's sad, but like, I'm sorry that he died, but
we hope she lives, I guess.
Yeah, we don't really know because she hasn't stabbed a lot. Yeah. I mean, I guess she might not, because at the beginning of the movie it says, when it's saying on the night of blah, 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 the shit happened, nobody knows exactly what went down. I mean, Liv would have known exactly what went down.
Whoa, that is true.
So I guess she died.
She must have died before EMTs even got there, though, to be able to tell them what happened.
That sucks.
That sucks.
Yeah. Oh, wow. What a bummer of a fucking movie. So let's get into the rating of this movie.
Yes. I feel like you talking about this movie, you seem so unhappy talking about this
movie.
I'm
struggling. Do you want to rate it first? Because you have less complicated feelings about it. Yeah. Go for it.
I give it 5 stars. Wait, all right.
No, I'm not
rating it as a horror movie or as a regular movie?
A regular movie, and then the scary. Well, no, I mean it can be a horror movie. Like, it's an example of a genre.
I mean, I wouldn't think it was Oscar worthy, I guess.
Yeah.
But I do think it's probably. And unlike The Ring, where I was sort of like, what did I see in this movie?
Yeah.
I was like, watching it again, I was like, damn, that is a scary movie. Like, that, it really holds up for me in terms of the scares. Mm-hmm. And so for that reason, I'm like, damn, it's a good movie. Like, I give it 4.5, and I got it rounded up to 5. This is a 5-star scary movie for me.
Do it.
And then in terms of scares, 5 ghost faces. This is the scariest movie I've ever seen in the movie theaters.
I'm so glad I didn't see this fucking movie in the theater. I'm so scared.
Pray at Night.
I'm seeing Pray at Night tomorrow.
Pray at Night.
At 11 a.m. in the movie theater.
Pray at Night doesn't look as scary.
I don't think it's going to be as scary. I just don't think it's going to be as good. But we'll see. Maybe it'll surprise us all.
Yeah.
Okay. So I actually am less opposed to what you've just said than you might think. I think this is a very well-made horror movie. I didn't enjoy it. It's not for me. And it's not, it's telling a very small story, but I think it's telling it really well. So I wouldn't give it a 5 stars, but I would give it a 4 based on the way that it's made. I would not necessarily recommend that you watch it. I think this movie borders on torture porn. Not in the way that hostile, not physical torture, like psychological torture porn. It's a very bleak, upsetting thing to watch. It's just characters being tormented. If you think you would be into that, you should watch it. I think it's a really good example of that. Not for me. Not my cuppa. Scariness emojis. I mean, scream emojis is getting 5 because I've never been more fucking terrified of a movie in my life. And this may be a personal preference thing too, because again, I think a movie like The Conjuring has a lot of really good scares in it, but I'm not going to give it a 5 star. We'll talk about The Conjuring someday, but I'm not that scared of it because I'm not scared of ghosts, but right. I'm really scared of home invasion. So it pushed a lot of buttons for me that bump it up into a 5. So this is I feel complicated about it, but I gotta acknowledge that it's a good flick.
You gotta give credit where credit's due.
Yeah. Well, I think we did it.
That's The Strangers.
It's a tough one.
I'm sorry I made you watch it.
No, it was important to watch it, I think, especially, because we want to watch new movies, so I had to be ready to have a comparison, a baseline for
I think it's important that horror movie fans see this movie.
I would agree. I think it's a good one. And it checks a box that isn't often checked. It's different from Halloween, which is also a movie about a human coming to kill you. It's a different thing.
And just so many people that I've talked to about this movie say it's the scariest movie they've ever seen.
Yeah, it's a tough one. So
I
I challenge you. Watch The Strangers. I did it over the course of 3 hours on Sunday morning
by
myself.
I watched it by myself too.
Did you really?
Simon
wasn't there.
My 6th or 7th
that's
time
true.
seeing it.
That's
but
true.
I did watch it by myself.
I don't even know how I will never watch it again, but I'm glad I watched it once. All right. Anything else you want to talk about? Any exciting trailers, events on the horizon?
Oh, well, I don't know if you've ever, I'm sure I've talked to you about Darren Brown. Darren Brown, if you guys don't know, is a magician. He's a British, magician's not the right word because that sounds much cheesier than what he does. He's, I'm having real trouble with my words. An illusionist, yes. He's also a hypnotist.
Oh,
and I've seen him live a few times, and he's amazing. I mean, he can just convince people to think things, and I've experienced myself. He showed this video at the last show I was at, and he said that by the end of the video, some people in the audience would have been compelled to stand up from their seats, and that your heart would be racing, your palms would be sweaty, blah, 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 blah. Well, this video went and went and went, and then by the end of it, my heart was pounding out of my chest. My palms were so sweaty, and I stood up out of my seat. It's just this weird thing. So, I mean, he's just amazing. So, anyway, he has a new show coming on Netflix. I think it's on there right now.
Oh.
And it's something like he convinces... He basically is a mind control type thing, and he sees if he can convince someone to commit a murder or a crime of some sort.
This is thematically appropriate. You're not just telling me a thing you're excited about.
Well, I would, and I might have been making up that murder part.
Yeah.
But anyway, I feel like you would like it,
all
and
right.
it's...
Do you think he's gonna hypnotize me through the TV?
No.
Okay. Cool. Then I'll watch it.
I don't think he will, but he's it's just super entertaining, so I'm excited to watch that. I think I'm going to watch it tonight. So.
Ooh, I need to watch some Golden Girls tonight for sure.
You need to watch some British families cooking.
Yeah.
The British families cooking show.
By the way, I'll probably cut this, but I did do some research about my beloved Phil from The Ritual.
Yeah.
He's just a British actor, been in a lot of random British TV, but he's a lead actor with the Royal Shakespeare Company, and so he does a ton of Shakespeare. And if you thought I was hot for Phil before, hoo boy,
Kaitlin,
I'm coming for you, Phil.
Soulmate.
He's married, but
Oh, shit.
You know what? It's Hollywood. Well, it's British Hollywood.
It's Hollywood.
Hollywood. It's Stratford upon Avon.
You can't get that. The people need to know.
All right, well, update. I'll keep you posted on the ongoing romantic saga between me and Phil. His name is Arshur Ali is his real name.
Arshur.
Sexy.
I like it.
Too. So stay tuned. And
Tune in next time.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about the sequel to this fucked up movie.
Go see The Strangers Pray at Night. Or don't.
Or
just listen to us talk about it.
Yeah. All right. Peace.
Bye.
One more thing, guys, forgot to mention. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ScreamGirlsPod, and you can email us at screamgirlspodcast@gmail.com if you have suggestions for movies that we should watch. And otherwise, just rate, review, subscribe, and give us validation. Bye.